guest from another part of the world that I
Yeah.
am so happy to have. Her name is Grace Oggudah. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, it is. That's how you pronounce it. Perfect, Mona.
Very good. She is in England right now, on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. And the reason of this episode is basically to understand the Kenyan culture. Obviously, she's from Kenya. We had announced that before, and we would like to understand more about your culture. How can we do business? How can we earn trust, communication style, and so on and so forth? Before we dive in, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about you and what you do, and we'll go from there.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on the platform, Mona. My name is Grace Oggudah. I'm a wife, a mother of three amazing children. I am a life balance coach, so I predominantly work with women just to help them to achieve balance.
Huh?
And the founder of Reignite Kenya, which is a yearly event that we host in Nairobi, Kenya. Actually, I was
Oh,
supposed to be in Kenya right now. And I'm also the founder, or may I say, the trustee of Donate a Wig. So we also support women going through cancer treatment in the underprivileged communities in Africa. So we provide them with wigs and makeovers. So we do that for free for them, just to help them, with their confidence and just to help them through the treatment. So that is me in a nutshell. That's what I do. I studied at St. George's University, London, as a radiotherapist.
uh-huh.
So I've been working with, it's almost like life has gone full circle. I studied that and now I'm working with women going through cancer in Kenya to support them through the process.
Very nice. That is such a noble cause. Now I see you wearing this. I am adoring it. Can you send me one? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, I can.
Tell us, what is this for? What is it that you're wearing around your neck and chest?
Well, this is from the Maasai tribe in Kenya, and it's very symbolic. The beads are, depending on what color of the beads, they represent different things. So for somebody who is looking to get married, they have different color beads. In terms of, the white beads, it could be standing for fertility. You've got the red beads, so it's showing strength and sacrifice. You've got the green beads that stands from our what can I say, our greenery and the life that the earth brings. So it's just a symbol. If you go within the Maasai tribe, whatever colors you wear, somebody can tell what age you are, what community you come from. So it's like an identity thing. Yeah.
Wow, impressive. So the reason of wearing that is identification, can we say?
Yes.
Is that what it
Yes.
is? So
Yeah.
the or Kenya in general, is it a type of a tribal society as
Well,
far as recognizing which tribe is which and where do you belong in society?
so Kenya, we are in East Africa, so the eastern side of Africa, and Kenya is actually comprises of 42 tribes, not dialects, tribes, completely different tribes, completely different languages, 42 of them. So this is specific to the Maasai, but normally, depending on which area you come from, there is a kind of outfit you wear that can identify where you're from. And then within the Maasai itself, also there's different dialects. So you can also identify which part of region you're coming from, or it can also identify your age. It can identify which part of life you are in. So are you going through, because like for the boys as well, there's some beads they also wear. So it depends on which phase of life you are in or which community you come with. But Kenya in general, we've got 42 tribes in the country.
That's so interesting. So the tribes, and you said each tribe has its own language. So what is the main language? I know Swahili
Yes.
is mainly the main language in Kenya. So besides Swahili, you have other dialects from different tribes. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so Swahili is like English to, it's the main language for us to communicate. And
Uh-huh.
then other than Swahili, so most of people in Kenya, uh, they have their mother tongue. So for me,
Uh-huh.
I'm a Luo. I come from the western side of Kenya. And then for us to communicate as a country, Swahili is our national language. And then for us to communicate internationally, English is also spoken. So most Kenyans are speaking three languages or four.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm not that far from you. I was born in Morocco, so
Oh,
it's
wow.
on that side, and you are on that side.
Yeah.
So I completely understand. It's fascinating. Now, we want to know more about the culture,
Mm.
communication style. Um, let's say I've never been to Kenya. I have never met any Kenyans, although I worked with three families from Kenya, and they were such a delight to work with. They
Mm.
were all here in the United States. But tell us, how can we earn trust in the Kenyan society or within the Kenyan community if we want to do business with them, so on and so forth?
Kenyans are very informal in terms of how we build relationships. We have a very open policy. So, for us, it's, you meet somebody, come, let's have a cup of tea, or let's go out for dinner, or let's go out for lunch. So it's never really formal. We are very informal, very friendly.
Uh-huh.
You will enter a taxi and the taxi guy will tell you what happened in the morning, what his wife was saying, how he's so upset with the kids, and we have that kind of rapport. We are very community orientated. So, every Friday, everybody goes out. And, if I meet somebody in the bus and we start talking, it's
Uh-huh.
very common for me to say, oh gosh, we are having a barbecue tonight. Do you want to come? So it's that kind of community where there's an open door policy kind of thing. I think, unfortunately, as things are evolving and things are changing,
Uh-huh.
people are adopting other cultures,
Uh-huh.
which is not, we are not very familiar with. But in terms of building business, it's normally, I think with the English is business, and that's where we end. But for us, business is more of family, it's more of friends. So your business partner is the person you hang out with, is the person you go out for drinks with, is the person who randomly knocks on your door when you're half asleep and you say, okay, you can come in. So we are that kind of community, very welcoming, very open people,
Uh-huh.
and very loving. And I think that is something you will pick up in the atmosphere when you're in Kenya, is
Uh-huh.
that there is so much love in the atmosphere. And you can talk to anybody. You can be lost and you won't feel like, oh my gosh, who should I ask? Somebody will definitely come to you and say, oh, let me take you to where you're going to. They won't even direct you. They will take you there. Or, you can be standing at the bus stop and somebody's like, oh, I've got space in my taxi, jump in. So it's that kind of culture where we're very open, very family orientated, and we build very deep friendships. So, I would do anything for my friend and she would do anything for me. It's that kind of thing. You can just pick up the phone and be very open and say X and X is happening, and they will drop everything they're doing to come to you. So that's the kind of culture, let me say, that we have.
That sounds like a very warm a culture that I'm also very familiar with. You don't need an
Mm.
appointment to show up. You just
Mm.
go in there, knock knock. I'm here, and people will open up doors for you and welcome you and feed you and make sure they go beyond, above and beyond to offer the best time, best hospitality. Now, when did you leave? What year did you leave Kenya?
I left Kenya in, it's been around, let's see, 20. Our first daughter is 21, so
Oh,
98.
oh, okay. Do you go back? Do you go visit?
Yes, I'm in Kenya around 3 times a year.
Oh,
I do go back quite a lot because I do some work with the schools. We have, as I shared, an event once a year that we host there in terms of the personal development space. We're just trying to build that up as well.
uh-huh.
Um, and I'm very passionate about the family unit. So as well, it's part of my mission to strengthen families, because I know when families are strengthened, communities are strengthened, we have less issues with mental health. The children also, if you offer them a good foundation, by just having a peaceful home and knowing and giving the tools how to do that practically, when children come into the home, it's their space of peace, because there's so much happening around the world.
Yes.
So I'm seeing a lot of our youth, especially in Kenya, are going through a lot of challenges. So we are trying to tackle it from the roots by having communication with parents and just seeing how we can support them so that they can strengthen their home front so that the kids are in a safe space.
Speaking about communication,
Mm.
how does communication happen in the Kenyan society? Is it an open communication or type of non-verbal cues, save face type of communication style? Is it confrontational? They go up to you and say what they want to say, or you have to pick it up from their attitude or their behavior? How does it work?
I think in terms of depending, because we have within our culture, there is things that there's the do's and the don'ts. So in terms of there's a level of respect for the elderly. So you need to know how to, if somebody's older than you, there's a way you need to communicate or get something across to them in a way that they would digest it. Also, as well, there is still the challenge of women still struggling to fit into some spaces. So if you're very open, let me say, or if you're very vocal as a woman, you might face a few challenges here and there. So there's still those systems in place in terms of culture that you need to know how to navigate. But as long as there is respect is a major thing. So if you're going to communicate with certain people, there is a way to present yourself. If you need to make sure you secure the deal, because there is a lot of assumptions depending on how you look. So people make assumptions based on how you look, you know. So like here, I've got my locks. I've got my beautiful dreadlocks. But in Kenya, sometimes that's kind of translated as being someone who's quite rough and someone who's not, you cannot conduct business with, because that's the assumption around a look that is, and then I've shaved one side of my hair as well. So those little things, as I've navigated, you realize that it can be a bit of a problem when you enter an office. You have to work double hard to be heard, because it's first and foremost is how you look and how you've presented yourself. So there's a lot of informal, let me say, or quiet communication going there. As you enter an office, straight away, there's, based on how you're looking, they will judge you. And then, so it benefits you if you're trying to secure some things to kind of adjust so that you secure the deal, because there's some deals that are not secure because the person is just thinking, no, I can't work with her. She's going to be a bit careless, you know, and things like that. So in terms of that, there's a hierarchy of how things work in the society. It's a very silent thing. although there's a lot of modernization, it's still there. It's still embedded in the society. So you need to really understand how to navigate those waters, especially if you're trying to achieve something. As for us, we are looking to work with some government bodies. We are looking to connect with some schools. So it's important that, for the mission, you need to understand how to navigate that culture, the do's and the don'ts, so that you get to your objective.
Oh, this is fascinating. I'm loving this, Grace. I just did a podcast on Argentina, and there are a lot of similarities when you deal with a hierarchy and societies that are vertical versus horizontal. So, in other words, I have a feeling what I need to look like if I am meeting with an official in Kenya or someone important. I have to look a certain way and present myself a certain way, especially being a woman, right?
Yes.
And I have to wait for them. They can make you wait for half hour, an hour, no problem, if they're important. So getting from the communication to the value of time, how would you describe time? The value of it in Kenya?
Almost non-existent.
That's what I figured.
And there's pros to cons, but what I realize as when I'm here in the UK, I can make 6-7 appointments in one day. In Kenya, I don't do that. I do 1 appointment a day. And you have, first and foremost, there's ridiculous traffic. So it's, but somehow I think we are still processing that if there's traffic, you need to leave 1 hour earlier, or whatever it is. So time is non-existent. I've had appointments, so I've waited for 2 hours and the person shows up and they're laughing. There's no apology, there's nothing. And they're just like, oh, it's good to see you, and let's get to business.
Wow.
And also in the context of, there's a time in 2018, we needed to secure some time with the radio. And, I was just making phone calls and nobody was getting back to me. So I just thought, let me go down there and find out what's going on. And I walked into the reception and I said, oh, we want to run some adverts. And she was like, oh, yeah, let me just call the head of communication and see if he'll see you. We didn't have an appointment. I did try and contact them, and but it's the norm. It's almost like if you need something, you kind of have to just suck it up, kind of thing, because if it's something that needs to be secured, and you always have to think of what's the objective. What do I need to get? Because it's a system that if you try to fight against it too much, you might not be able to deliver the services that you need to deliver. But also I was just mentioning on the other side is we did go for the radio, and we were able without an appointment to see the head of the department, and he gave us a cup of tea. We had a chat for around 3 hours. We kind of got our space on the radio, and it was like, would you like something to eat? Let's go out and eat. So it was that kind of, so it has its pros and cons, but what you quickly realize is that you need to learn the culture and then work with the culture, because if you try to introduce something foreign, then it can really work against you.
I see. So I am obviously, from what I'm hearing, I'm assuming there's bureaucracy. If you are doing business, perhaps there is high taxes or tariff as well, and a lot of complications when you're talking about doing business or getting things done. You just have to be patient and understand about the culture, and work your way in and work your way out, while you're being obviously respectful of the culture that you're in. So now let's move from Kenya and you are moving to England. What
Yes.
what made you think of England, first of all?
Well, I would say England called for me rather than me thinking of England. You know, as a lot of people normally would plan to come to England, for me, it just happened that I landed here. I lost both my parents when I was quite young. So
Sorry.
it was kind of like going where the wind blows, and the
Yeah.
wind blew me to the UK somehow. And this has been my second home. I would say my first home is Kenya, but the UK has been amazing to me, and allowed me so many opportunities to do so many things as well. And now I've got, it's almost like I've got experiences from two places, and
Yes,
that puts me at an advantage.
of course.
I feel, but yes, it was kind of I won't say it was a planned thing, but I did end up here.
Awesome. Proud of you. So, just so we can understand, the audience, the listener can understand, you moved to England. So now what? You are in a new culture that is absolutely different than yours.
Mm.
How do you manage to integrate?
Well, as it took me a while, because I think sometimes you come, because I was quite young when I came, maybe that helped in terms of still being able to adapt. You know, I wasn't so set in my ways. So because I was quite young, I was able to adapt quite easily. But then at the same time, I think it's interesting, although you are in the UK, sometimes you're not really in the UK, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
The communities are quite, it's not very obvious, but you're still quite segregated. You're still within your Kenyan community in the UK, or your African community in the UK. I would say, in terms of my socializing, most of my friends predominantly are Africans. I won't say that it almost feels there's a barrier there, in terms of, what can I say, in terms of integrating. You never quite integrate. I've never felt like I've really integrated into the UK culture. It's kind of like, yeah, there's a little Kenya in the UK.
Uh-huh.
In terms of maybe professionally, I will say that yes, you do get to um, come out of your culture, or come out of the African space. But when I get back home, I am surrounded by people from my community. You know, even in terms of my coaching programs, I was just paying attention to it. It feels like people who identify with me are the people who are drawn to my coaching programs. It's African women who come to my coaching program. So it's just something that seems to be there, that I've noticed, that just breaking those cultural barriers, even after you've left Africa, is quite difficult.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am listening, and I can absolutely relate, and I do understand what you're saying. So, in your practice, do you market to everyone, and all the people that are drawn to you are from Africa? Is that what you're saying? Although you're trying to reach other people?
Yes, I do market to everyone, and but then I think as time has gone, with experience, as you're marketing, I've kind of now created a niche and realized that, okay, there is a specific woman who is drawn to me. So I started looking at my clients, and
Yes.
there was quite similarities there. And for me, it was almost, okay, it seems this, whatever I'm putting out, this is the woman who's coming towards me, and I can't change what I'm putting out. For some
Uh-huh.
reason, there's a little bit of a barrier there, where maybe, and I think maybe as I have conversations, sometimes also it can be maybe intimidating for other cultures to penetrate into other cultures.
Right.
So there is a portrayal of possibly the African woman that is out there. And sometimes some women might feel, okay, I'm not very comfortable to penetrate in, or it's almost like entering a room that you're unfamiliar with, but maybe if there was a space for us to have conversation, we would find out that we are all women. We are all going through the same challenges. We are all dealing with the same things and trying to find the same solutions to move forward. But I think those spaces, there's not enough of those spaces where we can have a middle ground to break that ice so that we get to know each other.
Wow. And this is the importance of the program that I'm doing, is to understand that people from different cultures, they go through the same process, they have the same feelings, the same fear, the same hopes, the same everything. Just take time to get to know them. And what I'm seeing a lot of times, and that's why people cannot or are not successful in closing business or doing business with other cultures, is that first step. How do I approach this? Or they feel like, okay, well, it's them and it's me. They're different than I am. Although the reality is far from that. And people have to just take time to understand the other culture. And what I found during my practice, and I've worked with international people from all different backgrounds for quite a long time. You're talking about 30 years. And that desire, number one, you have to have the desire to want to know about others. Once you have that desire, then everything figures itself out. A lot of time you find that people don't even have the desire or the need to know other people. And there's and we can understand there's so many things involved, so many variables involved. Now, when you're saying you are in England, but you're actually in Kenya, because obviously within your community and everything, what experience do you have outside of the Kenyan or African community? Like, you are an African woman, you live in England. England is multicultural. There are a lot of cultures within England, but it is still predominantly white British type of style society. What can you tell us about that?
Well, for me, in terms of the opportunities, I'm not sure if there's some feedback. What's going on? In terms of the opportunities, I will say that if you work hard, you will get, whatever it is that your heart desires. So the opportunities are there, absolutely. And I think it's important for, especially, I kind of speak with women in the African community, that you need to just focus on your mission in life and the vision. But in terms of my experience outside, it's a difficult, UK is a very difficult, the English are an interesting people. I feel like they're very set in their ways, and there's maybe a lot of misconception in terms of other cultures. So they're very accommodating, but then it's in their comments or in the way they speak, and you kind of realize that this is their way of processing things. I've been around English people or in a room, and there will be very interesting comments that are made about, maybe I do a presentation and somebody will come up to me and say, oh my gosh, I didn't think you'd give such a great presentation. And then I would think, what is that based on? Is it based on, because I do love to wear my African stuff. So, I would, and it's very naive the way they would ask it. They're actually shocked that you can come up and do a presentation that makes sense and has challenged them to a certain level. And that's, you just find little comments here and there that makes you realize that there's not a full understanding of other people. And also, I feel like the English are very safe people. They're very comfortable in their little space. So if they feel, you know, a change or something, they will retract, you know. So you know, they're very exciting. For example, if we do like a food festival, you know, they will come out in multitudes to really support and try out the food and be like, oh, you know, this is amazing, this is tasty. But that does not mean that if you open a restaurant, African restaurant, that they'll come to the African restaurant, but they will come for the experience of a food festival. So there's those little things that you just have to identify what they are, and it's just the division in cultures. And you know, as you're saying, what you're producing, there is no space for us to get to know each other, and those spaces are not being created. So sometimes, you know, when we cross paths, there's a bit of, ooh, okay, I didn't know that. Oh wow, I didn't realize that you have this. And then you just find that there's a richness if when we are able to cross paths and really be open to knowing who you are and you knowing who I am, then you actually find, okay, actually, there's something there. There's a bit of spice here. There's a bit of, you know, a bit of ginger here. There's a bit of that. And it just makes life more richer. So it is a difficult space to navigate, but I'm careful to criticize it a lot because as well, the opportunities for me has been amazing. I do have a charity, as I said, I run, and there are some the supporters who are making this work possible for us to be able to deliver the services to these women are mostly English people, but then they will connect with me on the charity level, but they will not connect with me outside of that. So just it's an interesting thing that I'm still trying to understand, but it is what it is.
Is it still that unconscious bias that
Definitely.
definitely?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely unconscious bias. It's really deep rooted. And I think also the media doesn't help with the portrayal, because sometimes the only experience somebody has, so you have said to me you're from Morocco. The only experience I have with Morocco is what I've seen on TV. And if I take that and I project it on you, then it becomes very difficult for us to move beyond that. Because if I'm basing what I've seen on TV and projecting it to you, then I might also offend you in the process because I haven't allowed you to have the space to express who you are. I have come with an assumption. And because that happens, we come with assumptions. It becomes very difficult for us to go beyond that and build a meaningful relationship.
Wow, fascinating, fascinating. So, if you are experiencing this in England, would you say that an Englishman or English woman would experience the same thing in Kenya?
They wouldn't experience the same thing in Kenya. In fact, well, they maybe in a better level, because unconscious bias is unconscious bias. But then what it is there is still that level of, let me say, the English are treated better in Kenya than the locals.
Yes.
So, for example, if I have an English person as a board of trustee, then navigating Kenya becomes easier for me, which is very interesting. Or if I have an English person as the face of my business in Kenya, then navigating Kenya will be so much easier because there is that kind of level of I would say like it's a mentality of almost, what word can I use? The English are seen to be better. They're seen to have everything right. They're seen to be, the land where everything works, and everybody's trying to get out of the country to go to England, to go to America.
Yeah.
So when that happens, so you find there's a lot of English people who come and settle in Kenya because they find it easier to navigate. While in England, nobody would pay you attention. In Kenya, you're all of a sudden able to secure deals just because you're white, and that is something that unfortunately is really there in Kenya. So a lot of white English relocate back, they go to and live in Kenya because they love it there,
Of course.
and they're just thinking, sunshine throughout the year, special treatment throughout the year. Yeah, so why would they not? Unfortunately, it's us, the locals, who are struggling to really appreciate what we have.
Yes.
Even at the airport, I remember going to exchange money, and I was first in the queue, and there was a white gentleman behind me. And as I was getting my cash to change it, she totally ignored me and served him first, although he was behind me in the queue. And this is supposed to be a sister. This is supposed to be somebody who we are from the same country, probably from the same tribe, but she would actually ignore me to serve an English person or a white person that they perceive is better. So that's a mentality right there, mindset that needs to shift drastically within our community in Kenya. I'll speak for Kenya, is something that is a problem.
It's not only in Kenya, in several countries that, and I will perhaps say Kenya was colonized by Britain, right?
Yeah.
So you will see this throughout Africa. Any country that colonized, either France or England, some part Germany, some parts Italy, Portugal, Spain, you will see the same exact procedure and the same exact mentality. Like you said, things have to change, and they will change eventually, but I don't want them to change in a way where the outsider becomes an outsider. I always like to see people still having that space to communicate, still having that space to express themselves and be respected, and respect others. So that's what we call for all the time. Last, probably, I just want to tell you that I'm enjoying this. I'm learning a lot. I am learning a lot. I didn't know that this was happening. I kind of have an idea, but telling me this coming from you and hearing it from you, it sounds and it's received differently, and I appreciate that. Last statement or whatever you want to tell us about both countries and what to expect from both.
Well, I think, as I was saying, for me, the UK is my second home. Kenya is my first home. And just catching on the statement you said there, we want things to change, but we don't want it to change in a point where the outsider is an outsider. And, you just hit the nail on the head there, because what you're finding now is there is a generation of Kenyans who are really angry, and they have made a decision to keep outsiders outside, and that doesn't quite work well, because sometimes when somebody has come and integrated into the culture, they have worked hard to secure certain things based on the color of their skin, or based on history it doesn't represent well when we don't manage these things well and have a conversation that actually brings us to a place of growth and not distraction. Because what you're finding a lot is there can be distraction there when things are approached with anger. So I think in terms of moving forward, it would be amazing, and maybe this has come to my head, to start having conversations where both parties are present, and we can pave a way forward, because we all need each other. We
Yes.
cannot live in isolation. We need each other, and we also have to realize that sometimes the challenges we have faced as a people, there are our own people who have contributed as well. There's both parties, and taking responsibility for those parties, walking through it, and seeing how we can move together as people. As you said, we are the same people. We are going through the same challenges. We all want to, just come home and have a nice meal and,
Yes.
laugh with your family and just have a peace of mind. So when we realize that we're the same and we just are aspiring for the same things, and try and work with the next generation, especially in trying to build the bridges through conversation. And I think conversation is very important. And I think this is such a beautiful thing, because even you reaching out to me, it's quite different. It was quite different. And I was like, oh, this is nice for us. Just starting a conversation like this is something that I now want to go to Morocco,
Are you sure? It's a beautiful country.
I am positive that I'd really love to go to Morocco, or I know where you're based in America, so we can start a conversation, the two of us, and start a relationship, and start looking at bridging the gap. So if I can bridge the gap with you, then we can bridge the gap between our children, and things like that. And it starts with one person realizing that whatever impact they're making can go to the next 5-6 generations. So never seeing that anything you're doing positively is a waste of time. Wherever anybody is who is having this conversation, make it a point to reach out to somebody who doesn't look like you, who doesn't do things like you, and be open to learn about who that person is. And trust me, you will find richness in it. You will learn a new dimension of things, and you'll be both better for it.
Amen. I could not have said it better, because I tell you what, I am preaching the same thing. Take that step. Take that moment. Make that call. Make a call for a meeting. You will never find out how that will change your life, the perception, everything. And along the way, do good business. You will get the chance to work together, and you will have new clients, a new market, and new fans. So I thank you so much for your time. I know we've been playing a message tag and all that, and technology and everything, but we got it, and he was all worth it. So I'm happy for that. I love what you're wearing.
Thank you.
Where can I go and get it? Just look for a Kenyan store or something, or do they ship?
I will give me your address. I'll post.
Oh my gosh! That's so sick. Here we go. Now we are making friendship, and we are making something happen just from one message. Thank you so much, Grace. God bless.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best with your endeavors, with whatever you're doing in England and back in Kenya. Thank you so much. Have a great day.